This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design. Kiwi is the leader in Oculus Quest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast.
The Oculus Quest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever find things could be a bit more comfortable, maybe a little safer? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and so much more.
And let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. You don't want to be that guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes now to prepare yourself today.
And you don't need to sacrifice comfort for cost either. Kiwi is constantly running promotions of 20, 25, and even 30% off.
Just visit the link in our show notes and use the promo code on their website to take full advantage of your savings. And be sure to follow the link in our show notes so we get credit and you help support the podcast. And remember, Kiwi has you covered for all your VR needs. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. We're joined here on this Monday doing another one of our favorite segments of the show where we get to sit down and actually talk with the developers of these games.
Pick the brains.
We have so much fun playing it, reviewing it, dissecting it, giving our opinions. But it's always nice to see, behind closed doors what's going on. So today we're joined by Dave from Eternal Starlight, a game we reviewed just actually a couple weeks ago. So Dave, do you want to start with, kind of introducing yourself to our listeners and telling them a little about what Eternal Starlight is in case they missed our episode reviewing it?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Dave. I go by White Noise Games as the name of the company. And I'm the developer of Eternal Starlight. It's a kind of a strategy roguelite-ish game for the Quest and Steam. It's kind of, if you've ever played Homeworld, or also takes a lot of inspiration from the game FTL, just in terms of like the metagame structure. But yeah, so it's a space strategy game where you you have a one or more ships that you control, and you can upgrade and pick what missions you want to do, and some light, some story, has a storyline dialogue, so you can make a few choices there. But yeah, so it came out on the Quest mid-June, I guess, and still working on doing updates for it, and just doing things that the community is asking for.
No, I was very impressed by the weapon variety, the amount of different upgrades, the storyline. I love the storyline personally. I love to ask this question because it's always surprising. You play a game as polished as this, it feels like there was an army of people working on it. But then we get to talk to the developers, and it ends up being, usually
Less
with
than 5.
Yeah, 1 to 4. So
Some of the
guys,
best games, anyways, have been the lowest amount of people working on them.
Yeah, and so we know obviously there was a lot of people who usually help with play testing and giving opinions. But overall, on the core game itself, how many people were working on this?
Yeah, so like I started working on it myself in 2016, so like shortly after the Vive came out, just as like a side hobby weekend project. And I worked on it for a number of years before joining up with Oculus said that they were interested in having it on their platform. Um, so I got a bit of funding, and I had a couple artists help me out before launch, and they basically helped me redo all the ships. Well, most of the ships. Create new models for them. Created a couple new environments for the game. I still do some of the models and stuff myself, so like all the characters were me. But yeah, I handle all the programming. Those guys were on the project for a couple months, and now it's back to just me being solo developer again. But
Wow,
yeah,
that's really impressive. So obviously the help at the end definitely does help a lot, but for the core game to mainly be
One person.
yeah, pre-launch and post-launch one guy, that's insane.
So has your background always been programming for computers, or was this just something you were like, you know what, I think I can do this, I'll just spit out a great game?
yeah. I mean, since I was a kid, I've always been into games, and I for a while I wanted to be a game developer. I ended up kind of getting into games, but by way of the web. So, like my first job was at a kids educational game website. We did mostly Flash games for like elementary school kids that were taught like reading and math and stuff like that. And then from there, I got more heavy into web development. But I've always kind of really paid close attention to like the design, how designers work and how they design things, and always been trying to, keep buffing up my game skills. But yeah, my main job for a long time was web development, and just took the plunge and decided I was going to finally try to make a game, and this is my first one that I've managed to release here.
Wow, for a first game as a solo dev, man, I'm
And end on the store too.
yeah, getting on the official store. This is really impressive. I'll give you a lot of credit for doing something innovative too. I like rhythm games. I'm not talking any bad about rhythm games, but there's a plethora of rhythm games on the official store, on the App Lab store, in development now. Trying to get in. There's so many. Uh, We always talk about genres that we don't see done in VR that we want to see more of. Board games, strategy games, real time strategy games is one that we always emphasize. So when we saw this, we're like, let's see how the execution is. And man, you prove that strategy games from a top down view, they work in VR. You don't always need this first person, immersive, like I said, first person view. This top down point and click drag strategy games that people grew up with and love, it works in VR even better, because screw using a mouse and a keyboard when you can just, grab what you want and place it. That's so much better than a mouse. So props to you for going outside the box and executing it. You referenced some influences on this game, but how did the idea for Eternal Starlight come to be?
Yeah, so for a long time, I've been interested in just doing a space game. I was really into Mass Effect. I mentioned FTL. I really loved that game when it came out. I was always wanted to, try to make a strategy game that had as tight of a like core gameplay loop as that. I really like how they allowed for so many different like emergent ways of playing, and that's always been kind of interesting to me. And also like the whole procedural generation thing was super interesting for a while. But so yeah, I had a bunch of ideas for space games. I was originally going to do like an iOS app, like a that was more heavy like into like exploration and stuff like that. But when VR came out, I was kind of like, this stuff's really cool. And at the time, one of my coworkers at work was like, hey, it'd be really cool if somebody made like Homeworld in VR. And so I kind of pivoted a bit. Like honestly, the iOS 2D game wasn't really you know what wasn't quite as fun as I wanted it to be. So I kind of took some of the concepts from that and really like distilled it down, and just wanted to like focus on that core gameplay of like moving ships around and picking the equipment on them, and that sort of thing. It's funny you mentioned, how it works in VR. Like a lot of the problems in Homeworld had to do with like positioning things in 3D, and they put a lot of time trying to solve those on the 2D screen. But like with VR, it just kind of like you don't even have to solve it because it's 3D to begin with. So um, yes. So what was your next question? I'm sorry, kind of got off on a tangent there.
Oh
No
no,
worries.
that's good. It's actually funny to know that like the flat screen development of a game to try to pull off the 3D is a lot harder than
Just doing it in
actually
VR.
being in the actual 3D.
Well, it makes sense because, like, so we've grown
You're
up
in the
playing,
environment.
we grew up playing Red Alert, all that stuff. I've always loved these strategy games, and there is limitation to the mouse. There's always like, ah, man, it's clunky. It's not exactly where I want it, or just is there some sort of issue? Scaling out, zooming out. You're always at
Hmm.
the limitation of the actual hardware. So to be able to just grab the outside of the environment and zoom out, zoom in, drag yourself, place here, do that. I would love to see. Oh man, it just proves it works. Like imagine base building, little strategy troops, real time strategy in VR works. Um,
Yeah, and actually, that was another thing that I wanted to mention is like, when I first started, like a lot of things I was hearing that like about VR was that it's like, a lot of the games were kind of gimmicky, like they weren't real deep. They're a bit kind of like tech demos. Like, it was cool because they were in VR, but like if it weren't for VR, they would be pretty lame games. So, even from the beginning, I wanted to just focus on something that had good gameplay and like had some depth to it that like people would want to play it for a while and like really experiment with it. And wouldn't just get tired of it after the initial novelty wears off.
Yeah, I think I admitted in the podcast I had a little learning curve from going from start game to actual game. But once it clicked, and then I even said in the I mean, it's literally 3 things you have to learn, and for some reason I overthunk everything. So, but the actual gameplay was, I mean, I know I rated it a 90, so.
Yeah, 90 out of 100, it's hard to get much better than that. And just conceptually, I don't think I can ever rate a game 100 out of 100, just because, like, there's always something. So, like, 90 out of 100 is pretty damn close to as good as it
It's
gets.
one of the higher scored games ever, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's definitely a game that has a bit of a learning curve to it. It's for a little bit more hardcore people, I think.
Yeah, but what's crazy is once it clicked, and again, it didn't take forever to click.
No,
It just took
15
actually
minutes.
like, all right, I'm just gonna play the game.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna figure it out. And I felt like an idiot for making such a fuss about the tutorial.
but let's be real: is any strategy game fun and good if it's you can just hop in with never playing it before and
have
pick it up.
everything
No,
figured out.
that's not how
No,
these
you're
work.
right. You're right.
Strategy games are good because the more you play it, there's all these little elements that you didn't even consider before. I'll tell you right now, I'm a little embarrassed how many playthroughs I did before I realized, and probably by my third playthrough, where I was like, oh shit, the position of where my ship is facing the enemies is very significant because obviously my guns, if they're on the right side of my ship and they're faced away from the enemies, they're not going to fire at anybody. They're not facing anybody. So like
Mm-hmm.
the more you play, these little elements become more and more in depth. And this isn't a game that you can just do one playthrough of because of the story. You even say it right on the home screen, like, hey, you can't do all missions. Pretty much saying, like, if you want the full story, you got to do it, 3-4 times.
Yeah.
So the time we were playing it, I would do like a playthrough a night, from start to finish, just bang it all through. And oh man, I think I ended up doing like 8 different playthroughs, not counting the ones that I died and had to start again.
And you love the story lore a lot.
Yep, this is where me and you differ a little bit. You're a little bit more right into the gameplay. I'll give you credit on the story. Was there any inspiration on that? It's pretty in depth. I like there's a lot of good little elements to it. I never like to give spoilers in case one of our listeners hasn't played it, and then I'm like, hey, this happens. Then what the hell's the point? But yeah, that was all you, right?
Yeah, so I kind of wrote like the outline, and a friend of mine who is kind of a part-time writer, he helped flesh out the story and like write the actual dialogue. So I would say it was kind of a collaboration. But yeah, I mean, it took. I just wanted to make like a world that had a lot of different colorful characters, and like I like when aliens are like different and weird, and
Like Dr.
you
Chin
know,
Chin.
and
That
Dr.
was your
Chin Chin,
favorite.
fan favorite, yes.
Yep. How can you not? He's a hamster. Come on.
Yep.
That's the.
But
that's
yeah,
the precursor to merch.
some people really like you know, the story. Some people more just want to do the game and not read the story. So I kind of, there's definitely some allowances when you have a deeper story because, kind of forces the levels to be a little more linear. Because things get created. Like originally, I wanted to do like this branching story where you had to make decisions, and when you try to do that, it just gets like exponentially more complicated because it's like, well, if you talk to this person yet, what happens if you haven't talked to this person yet? And for a one person dev studio, it was just too much scope. So I ended up reining it in a bit there.
That's what I was gonna say. For one person, that starts.
Yeah, and even then, it's still you can see the early early elements of that in like the first week, more so with but nonetheless, so you started this game in 2016 and it came out June. So this is
Just
about
yeah,
a 5-year development.
right. Working weekends mostly.
That's awesome though. Hopefully this is we see
I still
more.
can't believe like one person was able to pull. I mean, we've talked to a handful of one person developers.
Yeah,
but the levels of polishedness, we'll say,
and complexity. Yeah. Like this isn't like you kind of referenced before. There's a lot of tech demos. I call that like the Fruit Ninja phase. No criticism of Fruit Ninja, but it's more like let's look at what VR can do and build a game around that. Cool
right.
element,
and that's
that'll
important.
later be in a game. Yeah, it's cool in the early stages, but you're one of the games that has a full-fledged storyline, replayability. I think the only thing that I'm bummed about with playing the game is every playthrough I've done is by the time I'm done with my playthrough, like I don't want to lose my ship. I wish I could go endless. Is that
Yeah,
something you're looking to add? Down the line. An endless
yeah,
mode.
totally. Yeah. I've gotten that from a bunch of people that they want to just keep playing and see like how far they can get and how powerful they can get. So yeah, the next update I'm working on now is called Endless Mode. I don't know if it's going to actually be endless because I think there will be a boss battle at the end, but I want to give people like a lot more options to like control like you know how the difficulty is, like how long the game is, which race you are. So like a lot more choices that weren't in the single player, and also kind of make it much more random. So like I'm sure you've noticed, but like the more you play through it, it's the same missions and you're the same guys you're fighting. Even though like it's from a pool of missions, so like it might not always be exactly the same, but you're still getting the same thing. So that kind of limits the replayability. So with the endless mode, I want to make it so that the fights are like fully random. They'll be like, like so like there might be like a mission where you get a store or like a special, thing happens where like you get an upgrade or something like that. So like it'll be more like a traditional roguelike game where like there's like random events. So like every time you play, it'll be pretty much different.
Ooh, I'm a kid on Christmas morning. That was my
Yeah.
only request with it, was that I wish I could go longer
Yep.
than the 3 cycles. That's
Yeah,
freaking
and
awesome.
I've been really surprised with how many people have played through multiple times. Like, I kind of thought people would like play it for a few hours and be like, okay, that's cool, like I'm done. But like, I get so many people who are like, yeah, I'm on like my like 20th playthrough or something, and I'm like, wow,
Sounds like you.
Yep.
you guys are playing this a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, well, there's a good amount of variety, and you incentivize multiple playthroughs because right off the start you only have your standard base starting ship, and you tell you what goals you need to do to unlock the other ones. Although not for nothing, all said and done, I think that first starting ship is always going to be my favorite one. I don't know why. I know it's not even the best one. It's just I like the positioning, the guns on it, everything. It's big. It's got a
Hmm.
good like balance. I love that starting ship. Um,
Cool. Well, also, I'm revamping the second ship a bit, and also there'll be a third flagship that we're gonna add in the next one too.
Ooh, I always love. I'm amazed at the developers on the official store, because so many console games you see them. They'll put it out. It'll need a patch to fix some bugs, but that's really all you see. You don't see this huge long follow up support of single player offline games. Whereas like in VR on the Oculus store, you'll get these games that dropped. I figured your game was done. I didn't think that there would be any updates, and then I went on the Discord for your game, and then I see you typing, and they're like, "Yeah, I need to add some more, mag cannons because there's not a good balance of this." I'm like, "Oh my god, dude, this guy's
I
like,
know, still gonna do it.
this guy's hustling. This guy's looking at the long term vision of this game." So I'm blown away about. It's not just you either. It's like all these developers for VR, you guys constantly add more content. So it's good to know that this game isn't dead in the water. You're not planning, Eternal Starlight 2, and this game's done. It's like, oh shit, this
Oh,
is
who
like a
said that?
yeah,
I
yeah. Well,
Who said
well,
that?
just that this one isn't
That
just
came
that
out of your mouth.
just that this one isn't dead in the water, not getting support anymore. It's like
No,
you're
no, but
staying up at night.
what's incredible is technically, right? In all fairness to the game, it's one could say, hey, it is what it is, and we're good with it. We're happy with it.
That's
We
what I
understand,
thought.
and we'll focus all that attention and changes onto our next venture, and not even. So that's what to further kind of what you said. It is true that these VR developers go out of their way to the majority to continue to add content and functions to the games when
It's not
one
really
one could
necessary.
argue, hey,
Yeah, shit.
I'm on vacation for
Yeah,
the next year.
it's good. So it's a good
Yeah,
it's a good
I
amount of.
think for indies, I think it's really important, and also just like so many games get released now, if you're not like constantly updating it, like it's easy to just fade into obscurity and have your sales go to zero if you don't do it. And I think players are just they're so used to it now, like especially with like like Fortnite and things like that. They're constantly putting out new content. Like I think people are getting conditioned to expect that people are going to keep adding stuff to it. I mean, I got people within like first few reviews, they're like, what else are you adding to the game? Like, so the people are just expecting it now, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when I look
We're
at
we're
the when
guilty
I
of
look
it
at my
sometimes.
apps on my Oculus homepage and I see updates I get excited because
Mhm.
I know there's rarely just a bug fix.
Yeah, it's
There
usually
might be,
content.
but yeah, there'll be always a section for, oh, we added this, we added this, we added, and go like, no way. So it does kind of make you really want to fire up anybody's game once you know that something's been done to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think games today launch like with a plan that they're like, okay, we're launching with this, but then we're going to do this and this and this, so we can like keep getting that buzz
Keep
going.
feeding it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are
Keep it
you
keep it.
I mean, I would assume obviously you wanted grand success for your game on launch and all that, but have you actually been surprised at just how, I'll say, positive the game has been perceived?
Yeah, I'm happy with the reviews. I mean, I'll knock on wood because like the last time I was like touted the review score, like a bunch of people posted negative reviews right after, but it's it's sitting at around 4.5 stars, which is pretty good, I think. So, and 90% on Steam, although that's a lot smaller. But yeah, I'm happy with the feedback so far.
No, for a first game, it's impressive. So we'll say this to any of the listeners: if you've played this game and you like it, and you haven't reviewed it yet on the official store, go drop it a 5 star. That helps developers
It helps,
so
yeah.
much more than people realize. It seems like nothing, but
It's a big deal.
especially those written ones, it's like that's what makes your game stick out. So
Yeah, we keep getting
Yeah,
it from every developer. It's like you need.
it's like please review, and I don't think a lot of people review. I really don't.
No, not for the numbers that
I
actually
think it's like
purchased.
1 in
Yeah,
30 is kind of the numbers that I'm saying.
Yeah,
For every
that
30 sales, I get one review.
makes sense.
interesting.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, because I'd imagine most people's experiences are positive, especially if you're not seeing refund, refund, refund.
You know what though? I bet you the day that you can do a review by just saying it,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see more people review.
Review it in
Hmm.
the app as well.
Yeah, be like
With
five
voice, yeah.
star. Yeah, or if you could do it with your hands and just chink and
Yep.
then say what you want to say and it does it to text and you send it, I think more people would do it.
So this
Just an
is
opinion.
no completely true. Again, built-in integration would be good too. Like most time, you have to close it. You go onto your phone. You do it from the
Mm-hmm.
phone. If you could just do it right in the app that you're playing, like, hey, I want to rate this 5 stars. So I love to ask this question. What was your first experience with virtual reality as well?
Hmm. Um, let's see. What was the first game that I played? I don't know. I mean, like the first few were always like Tilt Brush and like Super Hot and a few of those other ones. I can't even remember what was out when I first played it. It's been so long. Like the Blue, yeah. Like some of those like really stick out just because they were like I don't know if it was just because they were the first one I've tried or they just like had like this different quality. Like I noticed VR experiences today are like they don't focus on like the immersion so much, and like that was like super big in the beginning was just like that immersive quality. Um, but yeah, those are kind of the first two that stuck out for me, and just like wanting more content, like because in the beginning it was just like, oh man, wouldn't this be cool if there was like a AAA game in VR? I mean, we still need them. I mean, it's like Half Life Alyx is like the only one recently that is up to that quality.
Yeah, the term AAA is kind of taken on a different meaning with me when I see it being taken into the VR context. But I don't want to dog
Yeah,
anyone's AAA game here.
sometimes it can eat. Some people have
Be
very strict
deceiving.
standards with it. Some people have a little looser. That's a different conversation.
I don't need the one
Yeah.
star.
So understandably, as a developer, you spend most of your time, not most of your time, but all of this time developing for your game. It's kind of understandable if the first thing that you want to do is, or don't want to do, is put on your headset and play a different game. But if you do still play VR despite all the development you do, what games do you play?
Let's see. I mean, I really like DeMeo. I honestly haven't played a ton of it, but I still my son and I play Beat Saber sometimes. He's like super into it right now. He's like modding it and doing all this stuff. So he'll challenge me to that and laugh at me when I fail in like the first few seconds. Um, but yeah, other than that, I mean, I try to check out stuff that comes out. I mean, the biggest thing I like to learn is just like seeing how other people do stuff. Um, how they handle like the UI and the interactions is still we're still like in like kind of the Wild West period with that stuff. So it's always good to see like how somebody else does something. I think Forever Bowl was one of the last few games that I played a lot too, which is funny because it's such a simple game, but it's just like very satisfying.
Yeah,
We reviewed it and we
we had a
loved it.
great time.
I won't lie to you too. This is sometimes I'm shot. I just recently learned it's pronounced Forever Bowl. I thought it was
Okay,
for
for VR.
VR Bowl, but you're
Yeah.
correct. It is Forever Bowl. I just learned that the other week. That game's great. That's
Good thing we reviewed it and called it
for VR. Yeah,
for VR.
That's not on recording or anything. That's not forever on the podcast. You know,
Right? It's twice we've done that.
yeah. You know,
We'll
so
leave that.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed that at first either. Like I was kind of like, oh, that's supposed to be forever.
yeah. So now I know.
So I've heard kind of mixed on this one, but the community in VR is pretty non-toxic. So as from a developer standpoint, I know there's some communication that you guys will have with each other, or some will, but is that developer like more of a community? Is it coming more of a community amongst yourselves where you can share ideas, or is it becoming more
Closed doors.
proprietary to, like, my concepts and designs?
Yeah, I mean, the VR community has been pretty good, I would say. Like, I'm on a few Slacks and Discords with other developers, and everybody's pretty welcoming, I would say. I don't see a lot of like, I think people help each other more than they try to like withhold, I would say. And especially with like technical issues and things like that. I mean, I've always been really happy to see people like, helping each other out and posting code and tips, and even like sharing info on sales and things like that. Like I think it's a really good community, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's what I was hoping to hear. For the most part, that's exactly what I've heard.
You know, that's awesome. I don't think it's a big enough market yet for people to be hostile or anything like
Hoarding
that.
everything.
Yeah, if people are like that, then everybody burns and dies.
Well,
You
no,
know.
it also shows
Yeah.
you that there's a whole bunch of people that are seemingly more in this for
The long-term
the
growth.
long term than like, oh, I just want to make a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've spoken to a lot of people who, number 3 in it all day long because they're not sitting on a lot of money.
Yeah, but they're just glad
Yeah, I
to
mean,
be part of the advancing of the industry. Sorry
Correct.
to cut you off there too.
oh no, it's fine. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I mean, I always view it as like it's not a zero sum game. It's not like people are only going to buy one VR game. Like people are looking for content. Like it's they're helping each other out helps everybody. I don't think if I lose, if other people win, I lose. Like I think that's a bad mentality.
Nope. It shows you there's just something about that. The actual online quote community can be just brutal.
Yeah, but
the VR community, it seems like, especially with socially type active games, just seem to be a different level of, I don't know, it's weird.
less toxicity than you usually see on console or
Could
PC
be the
games.
immersion of being in VR.
Yeah,
mentally treats you different than being on the other side of a keyboard where,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something to it though that I found really enjoyable.
Yeah, I've found in my experience, the VR community is overwhelmingly supportive and positive,
Mhm.
which, my experience with gaming my whole life, most gaming communities aren't exactly overwhelmingly positive, supportive, and non-toxic. So it's really cool to see with VR. So understandably, kind of like what I referenced before, you're spending so much time developing. We talk to developers most times, time-wise, they're burning at both ends. It's very little time to go live your own life. But when you do have some free time, work's done, you're putting off a little patch, people can wait, whatever. What do you like to do in your free time? You like to go out and hike, go for walks with I know you referenced your son before. What's an ideal good day off to you?
Yeah, I mean, we go biking and stuff. My other hobby is like doing 3D prints. Been doing that a little bit lately. Do music and other things too, but yeah, it's hard to find time for other stuff when you're deving full time.
Well, understandable. You ever 3D print your own accessories for your VR devices, or not yet?
Yeah, I have. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I have a Frankenquest mod for my Quest. So I have the deluxe strap from the Vive on it, and it's pretty comfortable. I like it.
Nice.
So you basically have to 3D print like plastic things so you can attach it. It's like an adapter kind of thing.
Was that
But
half
and I
the
also
reason?
have like hooks for all my VR stuff. Like I 3D printed those.
Nice. I've been hesitant to get into 3D printing because I feel like I would just be doing
yeah,
exactly that. Me
I'd be
printing
spending
everything.
more money on the
It
plastics.
saves money. I mean, like you've seen how expensive those accessories are. Like if you can print it, it's cheaper sometimes, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's pretty cool. And how long have you been doing music? What do you play?
I'm electronic music, so I also did all the music for the game, but I do mostly like dance, electronic stuff. I don't know what you'd call it, but trying to get more like into soundtracky kind of stuff, with the game. So I've been listening to a lot of, trying to expand my horizons there and try to get into other stuff.
Damn, we're
Nice.
literally a one-man show. I'm
Yeah.
thinking at the minute you're like, oh, I did all the music for the game, like,
Yeah.
and I wrote it and I programmed it.
Yep. Just a little pet project,
I mean, even
Yeah.
sometimes some of the smaller, they'll be like, oh yeah, but I used so and so for all the music or whatever.
Yeah. No, you're completely in house. That's awesome.
I don't even know if this. I guess you might be able to answer it. We see a lot of games that come out, they're app labbed. There's just no way around it. Your game comes out, it's stored. I mean, is that just something Oculus discovers and says, hey, today's your lucky day. We want to put you on the Oculus store?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, yes, I think that's kind of true. I mean, I think it really depends on what they have on the store at the time. So I mean, like they wanted to get more strategy things on the store because, I mean, before me, honestly, there was only like one or two strategy games, and it's still a pretty small category. But I mean, I think what Oculus does, and it's good because they don't want to oversaturate anything, so they want to make sure that anyone they get on has a chance to succeed, and do well. So you know, they're pretty choosy about what they pick. I think things are definitely changing from when I got on. Like App Lab wasn't around when they said they wanted me to come on. So I think now they're going to be much more uh, pushing people towards App Lab to try to see what sticks and get some metrics on it and see, okay, this is doing well. We'll move it over to the store. And by the way, I'm just totally guessing. I don't have any like inside information, so
Yeah, no, it's all
take that
No,
with a grain of
yeah, yeah.
salt.
We're not looking to
But
make any headlines. And
no,
Dave
no,
from Eternal
please don't.
Starlight says.
But yeah, I mean, I respect the curation that they do. I think in the end, it's good for everybody. And I think App Lab's going to be more important going forward. And I think they're listening to feedback. I mean, it was great that they made it so that they could do in-app purchase on App Lab. I think the challenge with App Lab is just like you don't get the same promotion and exposure, so it's harder to get noticed on there. So it'd be interesting to see how things go going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we say anytime the word App Lab comes up that why there is not an App
An
Lab
official
app
thing, yeah.
that you can just
Section.
click on and not have to look all scared with disclaimers and all this crap. It just doesn't make sense because I really feel that it's holding. I mean, developers have a platform, they can get their game on it, but the exposure they get is like, I mean, you got to really either go out there and market hard or have some crazy guerrilla marketing strategy to get really some recognition because it's like not everybody still knows about App Lab.
No, I can't help but think of things as like the 50-year-old grandma or whatever using it, and then somehow she finds an App Lab game, she clicks on it, and it looks like you're gonna get a virus from clicking on it.
This is not an official.
Yeah.
Like,
Warning.
Yeah.
Stay away. It's like, oh no.
I would hope eventually that they like put a section in the main store for App Lab. I don't think they should keep it as hidden as it is. I think,
No.
definitely it doesn't have to be front and center, but it should be there somewhere.
Yeah, some little section or something like that. Which hey, Oculus has historically been very good with listening to feedback,
Yeah,
so I'm sure it'll come. There's 1,000 things to work on.
They update.
Right, they got a pretty full plate right now.
Yep.
As you can see, it'll take me quite a bit to say Meta.
I know.
It'll be Meta making the switch. It burns me to say I'm so glad I still have my my original Oculus Quest 2 packaging that says Oculus on it. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit,
Be a collector's item.
That's not going to exist anymore. So you referenced the Vive before. Was that the first headset you used?
Yeah, the original HTC Vive. That was my first one. I think I got the Rift shortly after that, and then after that, I just have like a million headsets.
Yeah, we see a
the
couple.
collection in the background.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
saw.
I had to
That's
set them up
badass.
there.
Yeah, some nice stands too. That's awesome. And so this game is available on PC VR as well. What's it like for you as a developer to develop, freely on PC with like the limitations of making sure it fits the Oculus hardware? Was it hard with your game? Was it a challenge, or was it really no problem to get it, functional and operational on a Quest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in many ways, it's like a game that's good to get on Quest because, like, there's not a ton of like animation going on or, you know, anything crazy. Like, there's no levels. It's all in space, but um, it was still a really big challenge. You'd be surprised. Just like the biggest thing you run into is like you have a limited number of draw calls you can make. So like everything in the game there's one call to draw it, let's say, if depending on how you do it, like sometimes you can draw multiple things at once, but so like in a space game there's like a lot of projectiles and like a lot of ships, and you know people want to have like as many ships as possible, which is hard when you have a limit like that. So just like getting it optimized was definitely like a few months of work, if not more. I mean it's kind of like an ongoing thing, and then getting it approved to get in the store the first time, it's like a really heavy focus on performance. So I had to like cut a lot of things and rewrite a lot of things last minute, which is like you really shouldn't do that when you're in like the final stages of your game like that, getting it approved. But I kind of went crazy there just to make sure that the performance was good enough. But yeah, I mean, once you get over it, it's pretty good now. I mean, I think there's definitely room to go even further if I make a few more changes. But um, I'm trying to keep them like pretty close to parity. So like on the desktop, you get like post processing and some of those full screen effects that like you can't really do on mobile hardware. Um, probably the biggest thing that bummed me out was I had to take out like a lot of the like there was like some nebula levels that had like heavy fogging and things like that, and like clouds and things, and I had to like take out a lot of that stuff because it just wouldn't work on mobile. But I mean, for the most part, like it's pretty much 1-to-1 right now with the desktop and the Quest. So, and I'm excited. Going forward, I think the hardware is only going to keep getting better. So hopefully, we'll be able to bring some of that stuff back.
Yeah, that's what we keep hoping, that as these new headsets start dropping, that it's just like console games where now the developers will get introduced to all this extra stuff they can, expand on what they've done or now open up to creativity more. No, the market, to me, it's a virgin. We're in that virgin world of the birth of something, and reminds me of the old Atari days and the 2600 days. And it's just going to get progressively better and better and better. And
Especially for the developers like you going outside the box. Like I keep saying, it's not another rhythm game, not another shooter game, nothing like that. It's
no, it was pretty
strategy
genius.
games.
It was pretty genius.
It's good. So do you have plans for? I know you keep working on this game. I'll give you a
Here
lot of
comes your
credit for
part
that.
two.
Yeah. Do you have plans for a sequel? Another different strategy game, completely different universe, or is that stuff just not even on your mind? It's just focus on this game. Focus on this game.
Yeah, I mean, like long term, I'd love to be able to do multiplayer. It's still like kind of a long term goal for me because I went in like back in 2016. I felt like it really wasn't worth it to do multiplayer just because like there wasn't big enough audience, and like I didn't want people getting on and having empty lobbies and things like that. So, but now I think there definitely is like enough people to justify it. Um, but yeah, so multiplayer is one thing I'm thinking about. I have some rough ideas for storyline in the sequel. Kind of set some of that stuff up near the end, but and then but I'd like to keep it open. Like I don't know, if I have an idea for something that's like totally different universe, like I just want to do something that's like a cool game, has cool gameplay and is like has something unique that hasn't been done yet. Like that's kind of my thing that I'm focusing on.
So, does your son play the game?
He's watched me like all through development. He's played it a little bit. Strategy games aren't really his thing, so
Gotcha.
he hasn't played through it. He's 9, by the way,
Okay.
but yeah, so not too many people in the family have played it.
Yeah. What does it look like when you play it? Do you just mow through everything? Do you still find your
Yeah.
fun for yourself, or you're OP?
Yeah, I mean, I like everything's like not really much of a challenge for me at this point, and it's like I get comments all the time. People are like, "I can't even beat this game on easy," and I'm like, "Come on, buddy, you just gotta get better at it." But yeah, so it's balancing things for all the different skill levels is a challenge. I mean, one thing I'm probably going to do is make it so you can turn off permadeath on easy because, like, yeah, I want to make sure everybody can play the game while at the same time offering like enough challenges for people who are like, strategy veterans and want to get into all the details and everything and all that. So it's hard to please everybody, but I'm trying.
Now, permadeath was a tough one, but when it makes sense, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think we'd even mention the ability to turn it off or something would be huge.
Yeah, me personally, I
Yeah.
liked it, and you were kind of the a little bit more of like just for somebody who's not good at it,
Yeah.
being able to turn it off might keep them more engaged into it.
Yeah.
At least for the first playthrough, and then they're like, all right, now I'm ready to play around with turning it off. So in your vision, what does multiplayer look like? Is it one
Yeah.
on one?
So
Is it you guys going co-op?
yeah, I think it'd be cool to do like a competitive thing. So like my idea is it would be more like a traditional RTS game where like you can, there's two sides and like they have a base and you can like gather resources from asteroids and build ships and have that play out, you know. Maybe it'd even be more than two sides, like maybe it could be up to four people playing at once. But yeah, I think and like make the maps much bigger so like there's like some exploration and maybe like fog of war kind of stuff going on. I think it'd be super cool to have that.
Oh, that would be fucking damn cool.
I know you're. I know
Uh,
you're
I'm
all.
giddy. I'm giddy, and
Yeah.
you do a great job. Like, all right, so you play this game kind of referenced before. Everybody wants an army of ships, right? But as
Hmm.
somebody who's done a lot of playthroughs of this, man, even three ships, that's my
It's
limit.
hard to manage, yeah.
You're spending all of your money just doing repairs. Like, no, I don't want 5 or 6 ships. So you did a good job balancing it, gameplay wise. Like to stop somebody, nobody's ever gonna have 10 ships because you can't. They're gonna blow up.
Right.
There's no way you
Well,
can
I
repair
think
them.
once you add that many ships, then it gets hard to like command them all. Like
Yeah,
the problem with Homeworld is like I play it and like my ships are dying because like I wasn't paying attention to them over there, and it's like even bigger problem in VR because like your attention can be literally anywhere, like at any scale. So it's like how do you make people like aware that there's this thing going on over there that you're not even looking at? So like yeah, like managing attention is super hard in VR. So like I think with more ships, then it gets like an even hard problem. Like then you start having to have like groups of ships and like commanding groups, and like it just turns into like a whole other game. I mean that could be fun too. I'm not dissing that. I mean, I think if I had gone in designing for that, I could have made it work. But it's really more about like managing specific ships, like managing those special abilities. Like I wanted it so like those would like really turn the tide of the battle, and like it would be up to you to pick the right time to use them. That was kind of like my design strategy there.
well, executed it because absolutely. Me having my special ability or not, and like, do I use it now because I might need it in 10 seconds? That's it. That's a huge element of it. Um, So you referenced it started in 2016. The Quest didn't come out in 2016. So at some point in time in your development, this was looked at as only PC VR, and then it switched over to the Quest. What was that like when the Quest, burst onto the scene and it was like, oh shit, now here's a whole new platform I have to start on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely was targeting PCVR to begin with. Things haven't gone super well on PCVR just in terms of like sales, but when the Quest came out, like I recognized that like yeah, this could be a big thing, and like with so many of these like new platforms, like if you don't get in early, like you kind of get left behind. Because like the first people that get on there, there's like not much competition. Like you get so many more eyeballs on your product just by virtue of it being one of only a few choices. But yeah, so I as soon as it came out, I was like, hey, like I could probably try to get this working, and like I kind of just started out doing it like as a test to see if I can get it running on there. Um, and eventually I was just like, yeah, I'm doing this, like it's working, so let's go for it. And like I didn't get the call from Oculus right away that I could be on their platform. Like it took they saw it when I released like my first teaser trailer like a year or two out from release. So that was when it first got on their radar, and I was definitely happy to hear from them. But I didn't like email them or go after them. Like they saw it and thought it looked cool. So definitely lucky there.
So
That's cool that they actually are paying attention to what people are putting out there.
Oh yeah, they definitely check the news sites and see what's going on.
yeah, I think Oculus they're just, no matter what you want to say about Facebook, whatever, Oculus is for the long term growth of VR in a net positive way. So I never like to ask numbers. I think that that's a very private matter. But just for my own curiosity, if you don't mind giving like some sort of percentage, like 99% of my sales came from the Quest. What's that kind of ratio that you've seen for PC VR to Quest sales? I know you referenced the PC sales have been nothing in comparison.
Yeah, I mean it's been like 10x on the Quest what the Steam is, and yeah, I didn't. I kind of bungled my Steam launch, to be perfectly honest. Like I did it during E3, and um, I think I probably could have done a better job picking a release date. But I think with Steam, it's like very sale focused. Oh, I didn't do a discount at launch, which I think was one of my mistakes because everything on Steam like has to be on a discount or people won't buy it. But I mean, Steam, I will, if as long as you do those sales, you can keep getting, regular, sales from that. Um, it's interesting because like, what's great about Steam is like I can do a release like whenever I want. Like if I want to do a sale, I can do it whenever I want. Like you can't really do that on the Quest or on Meta's platform. Um, so like I appreciate the flexibility, but at the same time, like you're also competing with like all the regular games on the store, for attention because it's like they don't have a real strong like separate VR section that like highlights their VR titles on Steam, which is like I keep saying it in a line, but like I feel like Valve really needs to do something to help highlight their VR stuff, like whether that's like a custom homepage or like like some official categories for VR stuff, like because like as it stands right now, they just have like top selling, top free, and top like multiplayer or something like that.
Yeah, and
And
every time I've ever clicked on the VR section, like the first couple lists, it looks like a bunch of janky VR hentai porn, and it's like this is
uh-huh.
kind of very off-putting. If you're a customer who's like, I don't have a headset yet, let me look at what's available, and you just see, I don't even want to go into it. It's like,
No.
oh shit, I might not get a headset.
They
Right.
So maybe curate the content a little bit that's showing up on that front page to highlight actual games and not just uh, imaginative sex experiences, I guess you could say.
no,
Might
I think
Totally, yeah.
I just don't think anything in the PC VR is doing as well as it used to a year ago, even then
Yeah.
2 years ago. And
It's
I
hard to
think we're
say,
now
yeah.
seeing I think the decline of that with the come
I
on,
mean, there
the
hasn't been like
scores.
a big Steam, PC VR headset release in a while. I mean, there's been a few, but like none like at the level of interest of like the Index. And like I think those hardware sales really drive game sales because like people get a new headset, they want to pick up a few games. Like if you don't have any new hardware
Absolutely.
coming out, then sales are going to be lower.
And the Oculus is a top three gotta have for Christmas this year. So
Yeah, on
for
what
the
on
holidays.
the Oprah list or something like that.
Yeah, Oprah endorsed, and I just you look at every store, and it's like, so I'm expecting a huge.
Post Christmas boom.
Oh my god!
I
I
go
mean,
on.
it literally should be like Christmas or the holidays for all the developers who have had this content because I think there's going to be a massive amount of people who are going to be opening these.
Yeah, I'm a little nerd sometimes bored. I'll go on Amazon and like I check the top selling list for United States for video game category on Amazon, and Oculus is number one.
Yep.
It's
So this
like,
could be
Yeah,
real
I mean they got
interesting.
to be getting close to like console levels of sales. I mean, you got to think.
Just in time to drop another one.
yeah, right.
They're not stupid, but
Yeah,
I'm excited. I just think the whole VR experience has been more than at this level. I would have never thought it in my lifetime at this level. So this
Yeah.
is cool.
nice. And it's been cool to check out your Discord. You got a nice little growing community there. Were you a little surprised at the
Passionate,
fact that
passionate community.
passionate? Yeah. Uh, were you a little surprised that so many people were joining an online community for a single player game, or was that something you really pushed hard and the results are justifiable.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised. I didn't really push the Discord super hard. Like I have a link like on the very bottom of my website. So like, I think everyone who's joined is like kind of like a pretty big fan or like had a question or like a suggestion or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely a good bunch and definitely surprised. I mean, I think in the future I'm definitely going to try to get more people to join on there because I mean it's just good to build that community. And those are the people who are going to be recommending it and talking about it. So it's good to nurture that.
So hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Any of our listeners, you like
Yeah,
this
feel
game?
free.
Yeah, drop it a 5-star and go check out their Discord.
Check out, yeah.
It's got you can get good tips and tricks, good community feedback. It's active there. I'll give you credit. And
What blows me away
Yeah, and
too.
I will say, if somebody suggests something on Discord, I'm like or like, yeah, I mean, even in a review, but like I'm very likely to just take some feedback and just implement it right away. I mean, with like one person, it's there's not a lot of bureaucracy that you have to get through to get stuff in
Don't
the
have
game.
to send yourself a memo and
Yeah.
we'll bullet point that and get
Yeah.
back to me on Tuesday.
you just got to make sure you sticky
Exactly.
note it and leave the sticky note
But
reminder for yourself.
that's what we accredit the smaller base studios to have the ability to produce something that the larger studios can't.
Yep.
They don't have all that, like, I have an idea and it's going to be 2 weeks before somebody can
Yeah.
you don't there's
Jim
a
and Fred
difference in
like
the
the
quality.
idea, but Bill doesn't.
Yep,
So
and
let's
Betty
let's
hated
talk.
it.
Yeah, let's
So
talk about it a little bit more. It's like,
yeah,
no, fuck it, let's just do it. So I think
Exactly.
definitely being a one man team. Obviously, it has its limitations for resources, but it's definitely
well,
beneficial.
what about a less than five studio, but not really that limit to resources? That's what I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
Like somebody who gets the financial backing of the bigger, the triple A game.
Yeah, but doesn't necessarily mean hire 100 people just
have
to
a
do
300-person studio. It's like I don't think you're going to be able to produce the same content that the smaller studio could with the same money. I think it would go farther with the smaller studio.
nothing. Yeah. Oh, we see it.
I mean, and this Dave's a great example of. I mean, got one person.
Yep. And like I said, first thing I see when I go into that Discord is you like, man, like, and I need to balance out the weapons. I need to make this new one. It's like you're constantly active with it, updating.
That's part of the cool world we live in now is the ability to actually talk to somebody who, the developers that do have Discords and such that
Mm-hmm.
you can actually get a reply back from someone.
Yeah.
In my day, dude, you'd have to find an address and mail it. And maybe, I mean, come on, someone's gonna have to mail it
It's
back,
true.
and it's just a question, or it would show up in a magazine. They had some Q&A with developer or whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, people are able to actually talk to developers in real time
And get feedback implemented into the game.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, that's
how good
huge.
that must make you feel, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
So, very easily we could spend, 2-3 hours just rambling about nothing. To kind of start to wrap things up, we touched base on a lot, but is there anything we didn't go over? Anybody that you want to shout out? Any special thanks? Any coming soon news? Anything that you want to go over before we kind of wrap things up?
No, I think we covered everything. I mentioned, yeah, I'm working on the endless mode update. That's going to be the next big update. So just, keep your eye out for it.
I'm stoked for
he's
that.
beyond everything that's come out of your mouth regarding this game has just been like next level happiness for my neighbor next door here.
Well, hey, and not for nothing, if I can face you in a fog of war type, we each build our little empire and upgrade our ships for the final fucking showdown when I wipe you out, I am pumped.
Yeah, I won't lie. You're better at me than this game.
Yeah, but
I admit it.
It took a lot of fail. I died a lot of times before I beat it once fully. Because my problem would be, man, when I'll give you that credit. Somebody's playing this when a mission tag says medium or hard, they mean it.
Yeah.
So like my first time I played through it, I went to go through one of the storylines. I forget which one, and I got to the end, and it was a hard mission, and I was on like my first week, and I got murked.
I picked
so
it hard deliberately. Remember, I was cocky because we
Yep.
were talking on party chat, and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, this is gonna be so easy, and I next level beating.
Right.
Game
So
over.
So one last question before we wrap things up, because you just blow through it. What's your ideal ships to use? What's your ideal special attacks, weapons? From the developer of the game, you're going out there just
Ooh,
to
that's a
plow
good
through
one.
it. What loadout do you use?
I've seen I mean, it's hard to say. Like I kind of switch things up. I've seen some interesting ones from people that I could share. I saw a friend of mine did or one of the people in the Discord actually, he did this build where he had like the invulnerability shield and the jump nova, and he would jump into like a bunch of asteroids and blow them all up and then quick pop the invuln shield and just like let the explosions kill all the bad guys. Thought that was pretty clever.
Genius.
I like to encourage like thinking like that. But yeah, I mean, I think starting out, the important thing is like get the second gun on the side as quick as you can, because like that like doubles your firepower. Always repair your ship after a mission. Like don't go into a mission like damaged. Um, and then I recently added this, but like look at the DPS values for the weapons. One thing I'm tweaking is like trying to bring up some of the weapons that you acquire, because like your starting guns are actually really strong. So like I want to make it so that the guns that you find are better. So I'm tweaking that. That's going to be in the next update. But yeah, I mean, you can mix things up. Like there's some weapons that like will weaken the armor, so like you do extra damage, like your fusion beam. So like if you use that and then shoot with your regular guns, they'll do even more damage. So look at those like modifiers; those are important too.
No, fair enough.
Hell yeah.
I didn't even think of some of the actual creativity you could get
Yeah,
away
no,
with doing this.
that one was real creative because most of the time, the most damage that I take at this point, because I've gotten pretty good at it, is when a ship blows up or an asteroid blows up. God forbid a ship blows up and causes an asteroid to blow up. Like that's when my ship's taking the most damage, and if I don't have fold or any like teleportation or anything,
Right. Oh yeah, that's another one. Always keep like fold or something like that, so you can get
essential.
away from. If you don't have that, then you will have a bad time.
Yeah, I love just get fold, get one good special attack. Before I pimp out my extra guns, I always try to get my shield and hull of my ship all the way maxed out with the upgrade, and then go from there. So one last question, then I'll let you go because again I know the developer life's crazy. I mentioned Dr. Chin Chin's my favorite before. Come on, who doesn't love a space hamster? Which, by the way, if you ever do T-shirts and merch and stuff like that, Space Hamster is the way to go. That's the good mascot. Come on, man.
I got the here's the 3D
Dr.
print of Dr. Chin Chin here.
If you ever
So-
start selling those, please let me know. I will get one and I will put it on the table here for the footage.
Nice.
Dr.
Well,
Chin
I might be
Chin's
able to
my
get
favorite.
you one.
Ching. So for you, do you have a favorite alien race or character in there, or is it they're all a little love from you?
I really like the Grethan. It's no secret that they're the guys that look like giant ants. I just like their ships and how they look in the game.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, Dave, we've kept you just about an hour. Like I said, we can end up rambling a whole bunch. So I know your life's busy. So we'll let you get out of here. I just want to say thank you again for joining us, and for any of the listeners, if you haven't played it yet, go check out Eternal Starlight. Especially you like those real time strategy games. It's pushing innovation on the Quest, and if you have played it and you liked it, man, yeah, leave that
5-star it and review it.
Yeah, it helps these developers so much. So
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you.
No,
Perfect.
anytime.
Yeah, hopefully you drop an endless mode update, some multiplayer, or God forbid Eternal Starlight 2. We'd love to have you back on.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
All right, have a great day, Dave, and for the listeners, check us out on Wednesday. All right, ciao.